All right, here we are in the final go of our planning. So we've gone from year to unit to general lesson. Now we're getting to what specific ELA concepts need to be considered in the creation of every lesson plan. So now we are pulling tight around our ELA time. Okay, so do you remember these guys from 371? This is the reading pyramid. These are sort of the fundamental aspects of language arts pedagogy. So you want to be, whoa, look at me moving it around. You want to be looking at reading comprehension, oral language, vocab, phonemic awareness, knowledge building, comprehension, fluency, letter sounds and phonics, concepts of print, text structures and genres. In writing, you want to be looking at, again, oral language, knowledge build, vocabulary, phonemic awareness, writing processes, writing convention, text structures, letter sounds and phonics, spelling and word study, and concepts of print. So those are the ideas, those are the pyramids that you want to be thinking about when you are creating specific ELA lessons. So when you are thinking about your ELA lesson, think about these 7 aspects, and I'll show you how I want you to specifically allocate these in the lesson plan. So again, phonemic awareness and phonics, print awareness, vocab, spelling, comprehension, fluency, oral language, and writing. And we'll spend a lot of time in the course looking at what does this mean? How do I teach phonemic awareness? How do I teach comprehension? How do I teach fluency? That's what the next 10 weeks is all about. So don't panic there. But I want you to be thinking about that you need to be bringing it really tight around these fundamentals of ELA lessons. Okay, so let's now apologize to you people who this makes you nuts. Okay, so when you are doing your lesson planning, use the MHC lesson plan website. Okay, so this is a website. Let's try template, lesson plan template. So this is a template that should not be a stranger to you. You've used it for a couple years now. We changed this a little bit, beginning, developing, for differentiation, we put developing to their achieving as per above lesson, and then extending, enriching. What are you going to do for those students? So that's a little bit different, and you'll see what's going on here. This is what I've now added in for you to think about specifically for ELA lessons. So I just think you should color code it. You can pick whatever colors you want, but just have a consistent color coding so that when you look at your lesson plan, you'll know what is happening around those specific skills. Okay, let's look at my exemplar, my lesson. I'm just going to move this up so that, nope, not doing that. I think I can move this up now. Yep, then I don't have to look down so far on my computer. There we go. Okay, so this is the lesson plan template. What I've done is, you saw this last year in 371, but I think now it will start to make that much more sense because you are going to be creating these. Okay, so we have the outcomes of the lesson. Where did these outcomes come from? The unit plan. Where did they come from the unit plan? The year plan, right? Okay. All the way down to the lesson plan. So here, this is, I explained to you in the lesson plan lecture that how will I know students have achieved the learning outcomes? Remember, I emphasized you really have to be able to see what the students are doing and really be able, there's got to be something kind of tangible about it. So think about if you can picture in your mind what the students are doing. Students will show information in an organized way, orally to a partner, and written on a whiteboard. So what are they going to do? They're going to show information in organized manner orally to a partner, and then they're going to write it on a whiteboard. So this is linked to present to peers ideas and information on a topic of interest in a well-organized form. So this one is to adjust volume, tone of voice, and gestures appropriately to suit a variety of social and classroom activities. I've put these two kind of together in these last two outcomes. And give constructive feedback, ask relevant questions, and express related opinions in response to oral and visual presentations. This is how I'm going to actually figure out if they actually learned those objectives. So students will utilize their background knowledge of Reader's Theater characteristics to analyze a video and create a 2 stars and a wish list. So again, you should be able to actually see that. You know that they're going to analyze a video and they're going to create a 2 stars and a wish. And now they're going to rephrase their learning on their day 7 checklist with a partner of whom clarification and questions can be asked. This is really important. We focused on this a bit last year, but you have to keep that in your mind. Okay, so the hook, again, how long? 30 seconds to 45 seconds. 30 to 45 seconds. So so my hook was, I'm going to read out a portion of Casey at the back in Reader's Theater style with expression and pace and flair without any introduction. I'm just going to launch right into it. Probably will catch my grade 4's attention. Okay, then I'm going to, here is the stuff I'm going to do. Usually we're pretty good at this because it's kind of like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Put your number of minutes in on the side, put your actual time, because sometimes you just look up at the clock and you're like, if you just put 30 minutes, like I can't remember when I started, but have this here. Okay. How do I check that students understand what to do? This is where it's all about instructions. So you have to do they actually understand what they're supposed to be doing? So to check and see, have them repeat back each step of instructions as a class, and then ask Billy, Sarah, and Matt to orally repeat back each step in order. Okay, so that's you're just going to check if they know what they're doing, because oftentimes we say all this stuff and then we send them off and then they get into groups and they're like, what are we supposed to do? I don't know. What are we supposed to do? I thought you were listening. That kind of thing. Okay. Materials, again, be really specific. Be really specific. Know what materials you're going to need for the particular lesson. Okay, this is that whole differentiation. Go back and review those few slides on differentiation from the last lecture and link it to your readings for this week, because this portion is what I'm going to be looking for in your lesson planning for this year. Again, for beginning and developing, you're going to have a pre-made sheet of characteristics listed in print and graphics as a guide when watching the video. You can see that they're still doing a very similar activity, and they're still fulfilling the same outcomes here as the rest of their peers. What you don't want to do is give your beginning and developing kids stuff to do that has nothing to do with the outcomes. That's your job, is to figure out how to get them to fulfill the outcomes. Developing is as per the above lesson. So basically you're aiming at your lessons at developing. The kids who they will actually meet that expectation. They will develop appropriately. And so we changed that a little bit. It's a little bit different from last year. Exceeding, during analysis, write down ideas and synthesis of discussion on the board. So again, it's linked to the outcomes. It's not just busy work. It's not doing an extra sheet. It's actually getting them to take the concepts, but you're exceeding, you're enriching, you're helping to push their understanding just a little bit farther. Okay, here are the accommodations. So I just sort of made these particular students up, but think about kids when you're filling out this accommodations section, think about children in your practicum who might be on IPPs, might be on ISPs. So Sally, a child with behavioral issues, the EAs navigate stand-up, pair-up activity, and Chris, a child with cerebral palsy, I'll make sure there's an iPad with modified keyboard, not whiteboard, for individual writing. So again, just making sure that you've thought about all this. Transition. This is what will students do when they're finished? How will we move to the next learning opportunity? So here, this is my Reader's Theater lesson plan. I'm going to ask students to return to their tables while listening to the song and see if they can predict what script we're going to do to prepare in Reader's Theater style. So again, I'm linking it to my objective. It's not just go back to your desk. It's linked to objectives. And then they're going to sing You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch, as we get back there. And then I'll just fade out the music once everybody's sitting down. Okay? So again, I'm going to leave this with you to have a go through. This is just a second set of learning opportunities because it's a 55-minute class, and you can have a read through what is happening here. Again, here's your ELA fundamentals code. So those colors, what I want you to do for ELA lessons is go through and be like, okay, how am I actually going to, what have I done in this lesson that is going to work on their oral language? Say, red. Okay, so students will show information in an organized way orally. Okay, that kind of does it. What am I going to do around comprehension? I'm going to have students show information. I'm going to have students utilize that background knowledge, and I'm going to have students analyze. Okay, so then, but you can see here, I don't have much around phonemic awareness. I don't have much around spelling or vocab. It's okay to not have every one of these in every lesson, because a reader's theater where they are not they're not doing a ton of writing. They're doing a little bit of writing, but not a ton of writing. They're not really coming up with their own vocab words, or they're not writing a lot on their own. So it doesn't really fit this particular lesson or unit. But if you look back and you've gone for like 10, 12, 15, 20 lessons and you've done nothing around phonemic awareness, and you're teaching grade 4s who still need some help with phonemic awareness, then you got to work that in a little bit. Okay, so that is that. I'm going to leave that with you to have a look through. And I also posted again for you let me just find it here, the lesson plan explained. So you saw this again last year. This is the same lesson plan, but what I did was on the side, I just expanded it a little bit more. So you can also access this in a more readable fashion through this Google link if this one makes you a little bit crazy. But what'll happen is if you go here, it will pull up on the side. It'll just pull up a few of these notes that I've just said orally. I've written them down, but this is what you saw last year in 371. So what I would do right now is, again, I would look through these two examples and start to think about how you will design your ELA lesson plans. Okay, finally, decisions. How are you actually going to create a lesson plan? Read out loud or silently? These are the decisions you have to make as a teacher. Individually or small group or full class work? Who decides small groups? Show up video or an image? Teacher-centered versus student-centered? Integrate with other subject areas? Are you going to go on the carpet or at the tables? Which cooperative learning strategy would be best? How will I handle materials and take back in materials? How can I record my observations during a busy class? There are so many decisions that you will make as a teacher. And I want to come back around to where I started with this power of imperfect action. Don't be paralyzed. You just have to go, and you are smart individuals. You have a lot of training already. Trust yourself, be smart researchers, and work hard. That's all. And sometimes you'll have lessons that are amazing, and sometimes you'll have lessons that are not. And it's what you do with both of those lessons that makes you the professional teachers that you will ultimately become. Awesome. Good work on this. Hope you enjoyed this whole programming on planning, and take care.